Are you ready? All right. So, welcome back. We are now ready for which labor is this? What was the first one?
The Nemean lion.
Nemean lion. Then there was the
Hydra.
Hydra. Then there was the
Aramanthian boar.
Aramanthian boar. So this is the fourth labor of Heracles. And he is ready to go. He is excited because he has crushed all the labor so far. You look shocked. Why are you looking shocked?
I think I remember. I think that for this one,
No. Okay,
we
go for it.
have to bring a bull to the palace without hurting it.
Oh, so close. So close. Not a bull. Now, it's the story of the Cyrenian hind. Do you know what a hind is? A deer. So you're right. He has to bring an animal back to the palace unharmed. But it is a deer, not a bull. There is a bull later on, though. All right, so he has to bring back a deer. Now, when Eurystheus gives Heracles this mission, Heracles is immediately suspicious. Because first, invulnerable man-eating lion. Then, snake that is so venomous even the air around it becomes poisonous. Then, a giant man-eating pig. These sounded like life-threatening things. And now, Eurystheus is asking Heracles to capture a deer. Heracles was suspicious. He thought that he was missing something here. And we're going to get to what he was missing. But he had to retrieve the Cyrenian hind, a huge doe, a female deer, with a massive, beautiful rack of golden antlers and hooves that were made out of bronze, and a dappled white coat.
Does it have a magic power?
It does have a magic power. In some versions of the story, this deer can breathe fire. But not in every version. So, Heracles is given... And Heracles thinks, the dangerous part, the difficult part of this is just to be able to bring the deer back without getting it hurt. That's what's supposed to be so hard about it. And indeed, every time he gets close to the deer, like a deer does, it hears him and it runs away. And he's getting frustrated. Until finally, one night, he's almost got the deer. It is drinking at a waterhole, and a pale moon is shining up above, illuminating its dappled white coat and glistening off its golden antlers. It is creeping through the woods towards it, and he's just about ready to jump and grab this deer and wrestle it to the ground when he hears someone ask him a question. He hears a voice say, "Excuse me. What exactly do you think that you are doing?" And he turns around. And he sees a woman. A woman wearing a silver crown, with a silver bow in her hand, and a quiver full of silver arrows at her back. Who was the woman?
Artemis.
The woman was Artemis. Artemis is the goddess of the hunt. And she did not look happy. And Heracles took a look at her and he realized who she was, and he said, "Oops." Because he knew Artemis didn't have a great reputation of liking men. In fact, she had turned men into deer and had their dogs kill them, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But he said, I'm just catching this deer over here. Nothing big." She looks at him. "That's my deer." He's like, oh. And he realizes this was the danger. He had been tricked into hunting an animal sacred to Artemis. And Artemis was not a forgiving woman, goddess, and he was in trouble. So he decides he's going to try to talk his way out of it. It's like, well, how was I supposed to know that this deer was sacred to you? And she goes, she looks over at her chariot. And guess what's pulling her chariot?
A deer.
4 deer with dappled white coats, bronze hooves, and golden antlers. It's like, oh, it's part of a set, isn't it? She's like, yes. I have 4 of the Cyrenian hinds pulling my chariot, and I let one loose to wander the world freely as my symbol. Now, young man, you have 30 seconds to explain why I shouldn't destroy you right here, right now. And so Heracles began talking very, very fast. And he wasted no words, and he explained what was going on and why he was hunting this deer. And Artemis was angry. But do you know who she was angry at?
The king.
And who else?
Hera?
Hera. Artemis realized that Hera had set her up. Hera had tried to get her to kill her father's son because Heracles and Artemis were actually half siblings. They had the same dad, different moms, but they had the same dad. And so Artemis said, well, since you are technically my brother, I will allow you to hunt the hind. But if you harm one hair on its hide, if you scratch one golden antler, I will end you. It's like, thank you so much. And one other catch, she said. Like, what's that? You better start running because it got a head start. And so he chased the deer. And he ran, and it ran, 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 and he ran, and it ran for a year and a day. Until finally, that deer was so tired, it just lay down and went to sleep. And Heracles, who was exhausted himself, but still going, very, very quietly and carefully snuck up on it. And he took off his lion skin cloak, and he gently wrapped the deer in a cloak, and he bundled it safe and snugly like a little baby in a blanket, and he jogged back to Tyrann's, to Eurystheus' palace, and he nudged open the door of the throne room with his foot, and he tiptoed in, and he laid the deer down on the throne room floor, and he pulled the cloak back, and then he stepped back and said, "Here's your deer, Eurystheus." And the deer woke up and thrashed around, kicking holes in the walls, breathing fire, burning down the banners. And you know what Eurystheus did?
Hide in the vase.
He hid in a vase in the corner. And Heracles said, 4 tries, cousin. What do you have next? And we'll get to what we have next. But are you ready for me to blow your brain? Okay. This is a deep dive on a Cyrenian hind. So, the Cyrenian hind was a doe. Is a doe a female or a male deer?
Female.
Female. But here's the weird thing. Usually only stags, usually only male deer have antlers. But the Cyrenian hind had antlers. Hold on to that thought, okay? Now, the Cyrenian hind, some legends say that the Cyrenian hind came from Hyperborea. And Hyperborea was a land far to the north, beyond the north wind, where the sun shone 24 hours a day. All right, now, if you go in the real world, if you go far enough north to the Arctic Circle, there are times of the year where the sun shines all day and all night. It doesn't go down. Also, there's one species of deer where the females have antlers. Do you know what species of deer that is?
Arctic deer?
Reindeer. So you have what would appear to be a reindeer coming from a land far to the north. What does that remind you of? And also, reindeer are known for pulling sleighs and chariots and such things? Santa Claus. The Cyrenian hind, sacred to Artemis, target of Heracles, might have been one of Santa's reindeer. Dun, dun, dun.
It definitely wasn't Rudolph.
It definitely wasn't Rudolph. He would have seen the red nose. All right. Thanks for telling my story with me. As for you, find some coffee or other non-caffeinated beverage if that's your choice. And enjoy the weather. It's snowy here. And find a good story.
Adios.
Adios.